Okay, so this is our first gathering since the retreat, and we've had lots of emails and comments from people who are very happy that they attended the retreat. It really was a wonderful experience, was it not, those that were there?
Yes.
Oh, I'm actually sweating. For those viewing, it's rather hot up here, and many of us are overdressed, including me. So, whether it's hot or cold, we can complain about it, or we can just be present with whatever is here. If it's hot, we can be present with the heat. What really matters is that we're present moment to moment, present with what is here. Most people are complainers. Do we have any complainers in the room? Hands up, the complainers. I didn't mean to put my hand up. It doesn't make a lot of sense to complain. If you can change something, then change it. If you can turn on the air conditioning, turn it on. If you can open a window, open it. If you can't, you just relax and you're present with what is here. Or you can, of course, leave. That's another option. This is how we live an awakened life. We live responding moment to moment to whatever arises in the moment. If a bird is singing, we respond to that. If there is music playing, we respond to that. We respond in an empowered and free way. When we're present, we are free beings, free to be ourselves, free to express ourselves fully as the unique individuals that we are. Everyone is a unique individual. Isn't that wonderful? Everyone has a different face. Everyone has a slightly different voice, particularly me, because of my Australian accent. We're all unique individuals. But at the very core and center of our being is oneness, one being, each of us expressing uniquely as an individual expression of the one being. And that one being I'm speaking of is you fully awake in presence. At the very deepest level, pure consciousness, no thought. Pure consciousness beyond form and beyond content. That's who you are at the very deepest level. Perfect silence. Now, how can the perfect silence in me in any way be distinguished from the perfect silence within you? It can't. This is where we meet, and this is where we come together in true communion, in oneness, at that very, very deep level of awakened presence that is perfect silence, pure consciousness. I am that I am. Thou art that. At the very deepest level. That's who you are. It's beyond time. It's beyond your story. It's beyond your individuality. Perfect oneness. Pure consciousness. It's actually beyond form and content. How do you think about that? You can't. Pure consciousness beyond form and beyond content. What is that? Any attempt to define it is not it. But at the deepest level, that is who you are. Pure consciousness beyond form and beyond content. And what a miracle it is that you, as pure consciousness beyond form and beyond content, here you are embodied in form and experiencing this life during this lifetime. That is actually a miracle. And your body enables you to manifest from the formless into the form, beyond form into form. And even as you manifest into form, it doesn't deny your formless state. You are still pure consciousness in a breathing body. You are still pure consciousness looking out through these eyes, hearing through these ears, feeling through these senses. Pure consciousness. But what happens to this pure consciousness is that somewhere way, way, way back when, a long time ago, somehow this pure consciousness got absorbed into the world of the human thinking mind, which is like a maze, a never-ending maze made up of myriad forms of thought that go back through lifetime after lifetime after lifetime. And this maze that is the world of the mind exists at the personal level within you, your own mind, but you also contain within you the collective mind. What happens to pure consciousness if it goes too far into the world of the mind, with its endless thoughts and opinions and beliefs and ideas, its past and future memory and imagining? What happens? How do you find it? Once you've become lost in the world of the mind, how do you find your way back to the truth? Because that's what has happened to humanity. We've all become absorbed into the world of the mind, the world of the past and future. We're all lost in our stories, lost in our thoughts, our ideas, our opinions, our beliefs. And somewhere in that maze of the mind, their pure consciousness is lost. How shall you, pure consciousness, find your way back to truth? Very simple. Just bring yourself, very gently, bring yourself present with something that's here in the moment with you. Ah, here it comes, pure consciousness, re-establishing itself in the present moment, present with what is actually here, rather than lost in the world of the human thinking mind, the past and future. That's how simple it is. You bring yourself present with something that is actually here in the moment with you. If you can see it, you can be present with it. The moment you're present with something that is here in the moment with you, you come out of the maze that is the world of the mind. Now you're here. Who is here? I am. I am is the expression of pure consciousness declaring, I am here. Who is here? I am. Then silence. Pure consciousness. I am that. I am. You can be present with something you hear in the moment. But it's very precise. Who is hearing the sound in this moment? I am. You can be present with the feeling of heat upon your face or coolness, whatever it is. You can be present with the feeling of your feet upon the floor, your hands touching each other. It doesn't really matter what you're present with. You can be present with these beautiful flowers, or you can be present with a garbage can on the side of the road. It doesn't matter. The moment you're truly present with something that is here in the moment with you, you come out of the past and future world of the mind. Thoughts stop. Now you're here. Who is here? I am. Pure consciousness. Silent mind. No thought. Thought is always past future. The moment you become present, thoughts will stop without you even intending that to occur. And when you're truly present, you are in a timeless state. Time disappears. Past future disappears. There's only this moment. And you present, in a sense, revealing the moment. That's the awakened state. You present, revealing the moment. In the most beautiful way. And as you reveal the moment, it will reveal itself to you. Then you'll discover where you really are. As you become so present, you reveal the moment reveals itself to you. Then you'll discover where you are. For in truth, this is heaven on earth, and we cannot recognize it from within the mind. In fact, when we become too lost in the mind, which is the case for most people on this planet, we're not in heaven on earth, we're actually in hell on earth, lost in separation, lost in illusion, unable to find our way back. You're not going to discover heaven after you die or after you leave the body. The only way you will ever discover heaven, whether in physical form or not, the only way you'll ever discover it is if it is revealed to you through the doorway of the present moment. Heaven on earth. Then when you leave the body, you'll find yourself in heaven, whatever that might mean. In oneness, isness, wherever you might be, whichever realm or dimension you are in, you're in oneness, you're in perfection, you're in the eternal, timelessness. That's the value of being present. Well, I should say that's the value of being present at the very deepest level. But there are many, many values to being present in a way that transforms your experience of life during this lifetime. The more present you are, the more you feel peaceful as you live your life. The more joyful and easy are your relationships. The less anxious you are, the less fearful. The more you're aware of the abundance of existence. When you're truly present, you are love expressing in the world. You are peace expressing in the world. You are empowered from within. And as you become more and more established in presence, your life literally transforms without you doing anything. It just happens. As you become more and more grounded in presence, you're no longer functioning as an ego, living in a separate world, doing the best you can to survive or even thrive. You're functioning as the personal expressing the impersonal. And all the qualities of the impersonal. Love, acceptance, compassion, oneness, truth, power, freedom. These are all the qualities of the impersonal. They're the qualities of God. And the more grounded you are in presence, the more you are a master of your mind and ego, the more this is what emerges in you, through you, as you. All these qualities of presence. And when I speak in this way, the real purpose in my speaking in this way, and from this level, is basically just as an invitation for you to open up to the same level. You can't know what I'm speaking of unless you're at the same level of consciousness. There's no other way you can know whether I'm speaking truth or not. You can't know from within your mind. You have to come to the same level of consciousness that I'm speaking from in order to know what I'm saying. And you don't know it because I'm saying it. You know it because the truth abides in you just as much as it does in me. The truth abides in each and every one of us at the deeper levels of presence. The truth is available to each and every one of us, but only when we're present. But we pay quite a high price for the truth. In order to open up to the truth within you, you surrender belief. In order to open up to knowing, you surrender knowledge. How many people are willing to go down that path? All your beliefs dissolve in an instant. What happens to religious beliefs? Or philosophical or political beliefs? What happens to all these beliefs in the silence of the present moment? When your mind is silent, you're utterly present with what is here. What happens to all those beliefs? They just don't exist. So if you want to hold on to the beliefs, that's fine, but it will prevent you from being present. Even the belief in enlightenment will prevent you from being present. Spiritual beliefs will prevent you from awakening. In the silence of the present moment, where are spiritual beliefs? Where are spiritual concepts? Where are spiritual practices? Where are they if you're utterly present? You're just here in the moment, present with what is here. This is it. This is it. Now, of course, your mind, your ego will come in very quickly and say, but this is nothing. And I will very quietly nod, yes. That is true. I wanted more, says the ego. I'm looking for the Big Bang. Good luck, I would say to the ego, good luck. Keep looking. Okay, does anyone in the room have a question? If not, we have a long list of very nice questions from our webcast people who are viewing. But you guys have first priority. Okay, I take it you all decline for now. Mary, would you like to read either the first comment or question as you please?
Okay, I'm going to read this comment from Janice, who is part of our family and had a very terrible accident this past winter. And she wrote us a letter that I think she wanted us to read at the retreat, but we'll read it tonight. Dearest Leonard, Mary, and everyone present, all I really want to say is thank you, and I miss you. I'm lying here, which is what I mostly do these days, just breathing and softening into my body. And I'm feeling such deep gratitude to you, Leonard, for your ability to create a safe environment for healing with such grace and humor and inspiring patience. And you, Mary, for making it all happen. God is in the details, and you are taking care of all the details. And to everyone attending the retreat, I can just imagining the sharing, the vulnerability, the openness, the acceptance. And just by imagining you all doing the work, I feel my own heart open and a deeper surrender to what is. Until I see you again, much love, Janice.
Okay, that's beautiful. And Janice, I'm going to assume you're watching this, and we send you all our love and all our best wishes for a very speedy and full recovery. Yes, folks?
Yes.
Okay, so our love to you, Janice. You want to move on to the next question?
Okay, this question is from Andrew from Pasadena, Newfoundland, Canada. And the question is, many teachers say that there's nothing we can do to aid in awakening. Any doing to bring us to presence or enlightenment is in itself not fully accepting the present moment. Your two-step process of awakening seems to be in conflict with this principle. Please comment on this seemingly paradoxical situation.
Okay. It's Andrew, is it? Well, first of all, Andrew, life is full of paradox. Isn't that true, folks? But there's really no inconsistency between what I'm teaching and that statement that you made, that appears to be inconsistent. You can't do anything to be present. You can't try to be present. You can't practice your way to presence, because practicing your way to presence is still future and goal orientated. It's not going to work. Trying to be present will actually prevent you from being present. Seeking presence will prevent you from being present, because seeking keeps you involved in the future. On the other hand, we humans are so totally lost in the mind, so addicted to thinking, so habituated to living in the world of the mind, that what will it take to free ourselves from that endless stream of thought, unintended, unconscious thought, and become present? And first of all, you need to know that this is available to you. You need to know that being present is a choice you can make. It's available to you. If you don't know that choice is available to you, how will you ever become present? How will you ever free yourself from this habituated way of living in the world, lost in the mind, governed by the ego? So first you have to know that's available to you. Then you have to know that you've been given free will. And at the very heart of free will is the ability to choose, to make choices. We all make choices every day, isn't that true? Many times each day our lives are governed by the choices we make. Well, at the very deepest level is what I call the fundamental choice, and it's this: which world do you choose to be in this moment? Which world do you choose? Do you choose the world of the present moment, or do you choose the world of your thinking mind, which is ultimately a world of illusion, a world of memory and imagining and thoughts? Now, you have to begin with knowing that you have a choice. And you can discover that choice by reading books or listening to me, or with some people it just opens spontaneously for them. They realize there's another level of consciousness that is available to them. So it begins with knowing you have that choice. Now, once you know that choice and you make the choice for presence, is that a doing? It's a good question. Is it a doing? If it's a doing, it's not going to work. It's too much like trying. It's too much like practice. Your mind and your ego is involved in the doing, and your ego is never going to be present. Its world is the world of the past and future. So if there's no doing, and yet you have a choice, what can happen if there's no doing? What's possible? Well, it's very simple, Andrew. A gentle relaxing. Just a gentle relaxing into being present with what is here. There is no doing in that. It's just a gentle relaxing and shifting very subtly, shifting your focus from the world of the mind into being present with what is here. It's not a doing, but it's also not completely inactive. It begins with your recognition that there's a choice. It begins with you making that choice by gently relaxing into being present with something that's here, rather than remaining lost in the mind. We humans are so lost in the mind. What will it take to free ourselves? We're so habituated. What will it take to free ourselves? You really need a very deep level of intention to awaken within you. And that intention arises from the realization of truth. The realization that there's another way of being in this world. And you mentioned the 2 steps. Well, at the moment I'm speaking about the first step, which is bringing yourself present. Gently relaxing into presence. I suppose the words are important. Bringing yourself present sounds a little bit like doing. But the correct terminology is just gently relaxing into being present with that which is present, that which is already here. The second step, you're darn right there's a doing. Because even if you experience the fully awakened state of presence, you're an enlightened being for 10 seconds or 10 minutes or 10 days, it's not going to be long, Andrew, before you or anyone else is caught back into the world of the mind. The ego reestablishes its position of authority in your life, and you're then caught again in the mind. So that's where step 2 is necessary. Even then we could ask, is that really a doing, or is it simply bringing conscious awareness to whatever arises within you? It's kind of borderline. The way I teach it is, whatever arises within you, bring it to consciousness. Allow everything that is unconscious within you to surface into the light of consciousness. So we have to ask, is allowing a doing? Is being conscious and present with whatever arises a doing? If it's a doing, it's not going to work because there's too much effort in it. But I wouldn't get too hung up on these things, because people can turn the simplest truths into concepts and then insist you follow these concepts. You know, there are many people who have had very high spiritual awakening experiences, and they might have had a few moments in perfect nothingness. Perhaps everything dissolved into light. They saw through the illusion of form. But then they decide to invalidate the world of form. They turn it into a concept. Even nothingness has been turned into a concept. There are so many people on a spiritual path in pursuit of nothingness. And that's not it either. So what is beyond all doing, beyond all concept, beyond all idea, beyond all practice? Very simple. Be present with what is here. Your mind is silent. In this moment, I'm unable to detect any hint of doing, but rather being. Okay, so thank you for your question, Andrew. We'll have a moment in presence and then we'll go to another question. Is anybody happy to be here? Hands up if you're happy to be here. Good. Is anyone happy to be viewing at home? Put your hand up if you are, please. And as you raise your hand, be present as you raise the hand. Because another way of being present is to be present in the movement of your body. You can be present as you look out through your eyes. Present as you hear. Taste, touch, smell, feel, but also present in the movement of the body. Now you're a conscious being. Now you're an awakened being. And for me, there's really nothing more exquisite than coming together as a group of beings in presence, so present that you feel the oneness. It's here in this moment with us. Can you feel it?
Yes.
And it's here with us pretty much the whole retreat for those that were there.
Yes.
Almost from within 10 seconds of me sitting down, or even before, right?
Yes.
Doesn't take us long these days. And more people are finding it easier and easier to be present, which is, it's wonderful. I see it as a progression of waves. The first wave probably began in the 60s. And as that wave completed itself, it made it easier for the next wave behind it. And then the wave behind that became easier and easier for people to awaken. What used to take me about a year to get through to people back in the early 80s, now it takes virtually no time at all, because there's a shift happening within consciousness. There's a shift happening at the collective level. The fact that I can sit in a room and almost everyone in the room is present. 30 years ago that wasn't happening. Well, it's not even almost everyone. Yes, Mary, my dear.
This is a question from Matthew from Oakland. Are the gains we make with presence and personal evolution continued in our next life?
Are the what? The gains?
Yes, the gains we make with presence and personal evolution continued into our next life.
All right, well, that's a good question, is it not, folks? Some of you have probably heard me answer this question. But then again, there's only now. It's Matthew, is it? Mm-hmm. Matthew, you can bet your bottom dollar the gains you make in the evolution of your consciousness during this lifetime go with you. And they affect the life of the soul, and they affect every future incarnation. It's profoundly significant. As you learn and discover in this lifetime the true nature of love, the true nature of acceptance, the true nature of compassion, the true nature of power, all of these things go with you. And if you should find your way in this lifetime to the master lesson, through the doorway of the present moment, oneness is redeemed. Through the doorway of the present moment, heaven on earth is revealed. If that becomes fundamentally awake in you in this lifetime, your soul is delivered, its journey is complete through your efforts in this lifetime. Your soul is delivered to immortality. So not only does it dramatically and powerfully affect your life in this lifetime, it affects the life of the soul's sense of itself, and the soul's direction. But I can also say to you, Matthew, that to the extent that you miss those lessons in this lifetime, to the extent that you stay caught in judgment, you stay caught lost in belief, you stay caught imprisoned within the mind, caught in separation, to the extent that you stay filled with resentment, regret, blame, guilt, all of these things go with you as well. And then it's only a short time before you're reincarnated, you're born again, and the whole sorry story starts all over again. Different names, different faces, same story. And the story is there for a reason. The story is designed to awaken us from the story. That is the whole point of the story. So I would recommend learn your lessons in this lifetime and awaken fully in this lifetime. Become grounded in presence, fundamentally grounded in the present moment, and arisen in mastery of your mind and ego. You're not truly awake just because you're present, because it doesn't mean you can remain present. You also need to be a master of your mind and ego. That's why step 2 is so necessary. Step 1 will guide you and lead you into presence, and you'll just become more and more grounded in presence. But step 2 will enable that process to occur, where gradually over time you become a master of your mind and ego, as you bring conscious awareness to all the ways you're involuntarily pulled out of the present moment. As you bring consciousness to all the unconscious aspects of yourself. As you bring conscious awareness to the ego and how it functions. As you liberate the repressed emotions within you. As you reveal who you've become. As you bring consciousness to how you lose yourself in others. All these things lead to mastery of the mind and ego. And there'll come a point where your mind is silent and your ego is surrendered. Never before in human history has there been such an opportunity for awakening. It's never happened like this before. In the past, a very small number of people would take themselves off to an ashram or a monastery or whatever, and very few of them awakened. But now awakening is available to anyone who is drawn to it, anyone who responds to that simple message. You're more than you think you are. Wake up. Awakening is available to anyone who is able to respond, really. And it has to be that way because we humans have taken ourselves down a perilous path. And I do mean perilous. Our technology has become so advanced. We are so destructive in our technology that we really have to now catch up in consciousness. And our consciousness has to go beyond our advances in awakening in consciousness has to go way beyond our advances in technology. Otherwise, technology will be our master. But we have to be the masters of the technology. And there's nothing I ever say that is against right use of the mind. The mind is a beautiful, clear instrument of expression once you're awake and the mind is silent. Once the ego is surrendered. Now when I say, Matthew, that these things go with you, I don't want then to create in you a desire that then focuses you into the future. That would prevent you from being present. But perhaps it's added incentive for you to make that choice to relax into being present. And as you relax into presence, you'll discover within yourself the value of presence. And so many hidden secrets will be revealed to you from the present moment, from the silence. So many secrets from within the mystery. As long as you're not looking for those secrets. And when those secrets reveal themselves, when those hidden treasures reveal themselves, don't hold on to them. Don't give them to the ego to run off with. Be alert, be attentive. Witness from presence. Okay? So thank you for your question. Okay. Can you say your name first so we all get to know you?
I'm Pete. Hi.
Hi, Pete.
Hi. I have a question about reincarnation, and I'm very nervous because I don't intend it to be disrespectful.
You can say anything you like.
And I've always kind of just let it go by because I never until recently have seen the value in understanding it. And the question is, if there are currently more people alive on the planet than have ever died, how does reincarnation work? And maybe it's a question of the mind, but it's something that get hung up on.
It's a good question. I suppose we have to ask then, where does the soul originate from? because it's the soul that's reincarnating or incarnating into physical form. Is there a finite number of souls? Of course, it's a very intelligent question you're asking, because the human population keeps expanding. Well, where are they coming from? So, so we know, or I know, or we could take it for granted that everything in existence is originating from the source from which everything arises. And I see no reason to consider that the source, which you could also call God if you like, that the source is somehow exhaustible. Where would we get such an idea from, that there's an exhaustible source? So there's no reason to suppose that there can't be a continual opening into souls opening and coming into existence. And perhaps as we awaken more and more, particularly in current times, perhaps more evolved dimensions of the soul come into existence. That's one way to look at it. The other is to say that, well, perhaps souls can inhabit more than one body. Perhaps souls keep dividing. The soul itself is inexhaustible. So that a soul can divide and become an individual soul, an individual soul, an individual soul, an individual soul. Why not? Now, I don't seek to say that I know this with my mind. I never really try to understand these things within my mind. But I do know the mystery of existence. And the sense that everything arises out of the one. Out of the one come the many. And I just cannot in any way conceive of the one as being limited, in any way that it is limited in producing the many. Look how many leaves there are on this earth. Look how many flowers, how many clouds appear and disappear and reappear. Everything is just God expressing God's self in so many ways. And for me, it's only human arrogance that would even seek to understand it. But your question is very legitimate, because when I speak of the soul's journey, or I speak of reincarnation, I do not want in any way to impose that upon you as a belief that you should accept. That would be such a violation of you. The highest state you can be in is the state of not knowing. And if it hasn't touched you in a personal way, where something is opened up for you, some realization of that, within your own experience, the best state to remain in is a state of not knowing. To disbelieve is no better than believing. But to be in a state of not knowing is basically to stand at the doorway of infinite knowing. So I would just say, relax into a state of not knowing. It's really a beautiful state. And one who is awake, let me tell you, one who is awake dwells in a state of not knowing. And yet knowing continually arises when it's called upon. But for the most part, I could say, what do I know? I don't know anything. I know I'm here, and I know I can see you. You're present. That's it. I don't live with a set of ideas or concepts or beliefs. The good thing about being present is you can't turn it into a religion. And you can't come to presence through me. And I am not the son of presence. Presence is available to each and every one of us. God is within each and every one of us, at the very heart of silence within. The present moment never goes away. It is ever present, and it continually presents its invitation to you. I am here, say the flowers. I am here. Will you not be here with me? I am here, says the leaf. I am here. Would you be here with me? That's the invitation. That's my invitation as well. I am here. Why not you? Be present. It's really a beautiful invitation, but we're not used to that invitation living in this unconscious world. Nobody's giving us that invitation as we live our lives. When you go check out through the supermarket, have you ever heard the cashier say, please be present with me as you hand the change over? Wouldn't that be nice? We should all be saying that to each other. Be present, and that'll be 75 cents. I don't remember ever paying 75 cents at a supermarket in the last few years, but anyway. That's the beautiful thing. You can't turn presence into a religion. It doesn't belong to you. The ego can't use it. Because the moment the ego tries to use presence, you're no longer present. And that's where a lot of people make mistakes. They very quickly want to become teachers or use the power of presence to somehow get more into their lives, be more successful or more powerful or whatever. And it's very easy to be deceived. It's very easy for the ego to walk around thinking it's present and thinking it's enlightened. And if that happens, could be a few more lifetimes before you wake up, or a few more 100 lifetimes. Maybe never. I can use you, says God. You cannot use me. Does anybody accept that? Okay, may we have another question, Mary? Thank you, Peter.
This question is from Joel from Prescott, Arizona. And the question is, when I am still and very present with something, such as a tree, or very present with my own body sensations, after a while I often sense a divine quality or godlike presence within me. Is this a distraction from, and he has in quotes, being present, or is it the gold that we all seek?
What's his name?
This is Joel, who used to come to your groups in Marin and then Minneapolis.
Okay. Joel, that is the gold. That is the gold. Now, if you think too much about it, you'll disconnect from the gold. If you think it's important or special, you'll disconnect from the gold. But I can assure you that is the goal. That's the gold, not the goal. That's the gold, the shining gold at the center of your being. In my workshops or retreats, I often will tune people in, or it's also in private sessions, tune people into God at the very center of their being. And I don't think we've ever failed for people to experience that. Because that's where God is, at the very center of your being. And when you are present, you open the door to God at the very center of your being. And I'm not speaking of a God you believe in. I'm not speaking of a God you can define or know with your mind. But probably as good a definition as any would be the gold. But it is a distraction to think about it. It's a distraction to try and understand it. Because the experience is transcendent of all thought, and it's transcendent of all understanding. And when you're at that very deep level of presence, Joel, of course you're going to experience the presence of God in yourself and in everything around you. Do you have to call it God? No. You can just call it the presence, the oneness, the joy, the beauty in everything. But there is clearly a presence that is in everything. And that presence becomes apparent as you become present. You feel it, you see it, you sense it, you experience it. The presence that is in everything, including these flowers. Well, I keep the flowers are over here. The leaves are over here. And I need my mind to remember that. Yes, there are. But at the center of your being, it's quite possible that all sorts of revelations and insights and ahas can arise out of the silence. That's not coming from your mind. It's arising from within the silence. And the only way you can ever be sure that it's not coming from your mind, because the mind would love to sneak in, the ego would love to sneak in, the only way you can ever really be sure is if you're so fundamentally grounded in presence, you're so familiar with silence, you're so full of silence, that it's so easy to distinguish when something is arising from within your mind which seems to be out here somewhere, or when your ego is moving within you. It seems to be out here somewhere because you're in the center. And you can feel the revelations or the truth arising from the center of your being, quite literally arising from silence. And what I say is allow it to arise from silence, allow it to return to silence. Don't take it into the mind and convert knowing to knowledge. If you want, you can write it down, that's okay, but then let it go. Okay, we have a question here. Hi Renee, why don't we pass the microphone to you? Yes, we need a microphone because otherwise the people viewing can't hear you.
I actually have lots of questions.
Okay, but you're free to ask, that's why you're here.
I guess so.
Speak into the microphone.
So one of the things, okay, so talking about the mind and talking about stillness, what kind of is the paradox to me is like we have this mind and we're always trying to get back to being still or presence or tapping into that stillness or the presence within it, the consciousness or the awareness, the stillness, where we want to be in that place. And yet what I don't get is I'm constantly battling the mind. And I know I'm not supposed to be battling it, and I know I'm not supposed to be resisting it, but it seems
Who's speaking to me now? Are you speaking from presence or mind?
Well, probably at that point I would probably be speaking from mind.
Well, of course, yes. There's nothing wrong with that, but you have to know the difference. Who's speaking to me now? Where are you speaking from, mind or presence?
Mind.
Yes. When you say we try to be present, we want to be present, is that where's that coming from? Mind, ego, or somewhere else?
Well, that would be from mind, ego.
Yes. And
But
so it's not going to work. You'll be constantly in battle with yourself.
right, and it's kind of a rhetorical, esoterical question because, I mean, what I'm just saying is I've tapped into stillness and presence and...
Stop. You can't say you've tapped into stillness. That's still duality. That's the ego involved trying to tap into stillness and presence. Of course you have. I'm not doubting that you have, but it's the wrong language. You didn't tap into stillness. That implies duality, you and stillness. The truth is, you are the stillness. You can't tap into that which you are. Does anyone get what I'm saying?
I get that too.
Which part of you is getting it?
The stillness. The stillness.
Not really, but that's okay.
Well, I guess what I'm just trying, I mean, that's why it's hard to put into words or articulate. I mean, because I can't articulate it. So when I
You
articulate...
can if you're present,
But if I articulate it, it always comes out with the wrong words.
because you're speaking from within the mind.
So then how do I speak without the mind?
First you become present.
But I'm just trying to understand the mind.
But understanding is of the mind. That won't get you there. That won't work for you. This is full of paradox. We're back to the paradox, aren't we? Now, just relax and let your question go and be present with me. No, you're not present.
Well, I can't be present right now.
You have to first be present. be present with one of these flowers. I'm too scary. Be present with one of the flowers. Just be present and say yes when you're present. Pick any flower and say yes when you're present with it. No, you're not present.
No, I maybe because I'm still. I guess it was the paradoxes that I'm trying to. Was kind of like we have this mind that we're living with.
Well, you're not living with it. You're living in it. I'm trying to show you the way out, and you're resisting me. This is too simple, Renee. This is so simple that when you get it, you just laugh and laugh and laugh. How simple it is! It's too simple. It should not be this simple. Why have we been meditating for thousands of years and not awakened? What's with that? It's too simple. Now, it's as simple as surrender your question. I'll come back to your question, I promise. I'll make it really clear to your mind that wants to understand, but not yet. First, you bring me a gift. Don't bring me the gift, bring the flower a gift. Just for a few moments, be present with the flower. It just means the flower is here and you're here. That's all it means. The flower is here, you're here. That's it. That's good. That's it. Now, in this moment, your mind is silent. Don't think about it. Your mind is silent. You're here with the flower. Now, ask the flower, are you present? That's the only valid question you can come up with right now. Just ask the flower now. Ask aloud. Are you present, flower? Come on.
Are you present, flower?
What's its answer?
Yes.
Yes. Now it wants to know if you're present. Not in this moment. But you were present for a few moments. You have to... let me make it very clear. You really have to understand you have to know from your own experience the distinction between what is awakened presence and what is you in your mind and ego. What is that distinction? It's not a distinction you can understand. It's a distinction you experience. You had about 2 seconds of the distinction when you were present with the flower. You need more moments in presence so the distinction can become clearer and clearer within you. The only thing that is not your mind and ego is you present, your mind is silent. Even though you're thinking, you're trying to understand. That's okay. My role is to point out to you when you're present and when you're in the mind. I'm not here to feed your mind. I'm not here to help your mind understand. It's not going to wake you up.
You just answered my question.
Okay,
actually.
good. All right, good. But now then you be present with me. Because that's the real value. Good. And you have been present tonight. I've been watching you. See, again, now you're thinking. You're a compulsive thinker. Say to me, I'm a compulsive thinker. Well, you're thinking about that now. Everybody should confess that. Okay, I want everyone to say, I am addicted to thinking. Come on. I am addicted to thinking. Welcome to Thinkers Anonymous.
Glad you thought of it.
Thinking is the greatest addiction. We're all addicted to thinking. We're addicted to understanding. Why do we need to understand? So it's the ego that needs to understand so we can be in control. Why does the ego need to be in control? To protect you. To protect you against what? Living in a world where no one is present. Because that's very painful. So the ego has become addicted to being in control and understanding everything so it can be in control. The problem is awakening transcends the ego, and when you're present there's nothing to protect you against. But the ego is very reluctant to accept that. The most valuable thing for you, Renee, is just to spend as many moments here with me where your mind is silent and just watch my mouth move. You don't even need to listen to my words. Most people on a spiritual path, in my experience, they're not clear about the distinction that I was speaking of a moment ago. How do you know when you're present compared to the mind and ego? Because the mind and ego can become very subtle and also spiritual. It can be your mind and ego commenting on your spiritual progress, your mind and ego trying to understand very deep, profound questions. Even the question, how do I become present, is coming from your mind and ego. So what is this distinction? The only thing that passes the test of presence, which indicates you are truly present, is when you're so fully present with what is here in the moment with you that your mind is silent. That's it. Any thought that arises is arising from within your mind. And if you believe in it, or you get too involved in it, or you're trying to understand, you'll disconnect from presence. Now you're caught in the mind again. But now the mind is disguising itself. It's getting too clever. Too much spiritual knowledge is a dangerous thing. Unless you're awake in the silence and the presence. Now I can't tell you how much the ego will resist what I'm saying. That's why step 2 is necessary. The first aspect of step 2 is discovering for yourself, what is the ego? How does it function? Why does it function? What are its origins? What's its role in your life? Why does it resist you being present? Why does it resist your awakening? And most importantly, how do you overcome its resistance? I can tell you that until those questions are answered within you, there is no hope of awakening, not in any true way. Because the ego is extremely clever. And there is no way that you are a match for your ego. Let me make it perfectly clear. But there is no way the ego is a match for presence or God. But first you have to awaken to presence. You have to be so fundamentally present that you are love itself. You are acceptance. You are compassion. And it's from presence, with love, acceptance and compassion, that you reveal your ego in action. That you bring your ego into the light of consciousness, without judgment, without struggle, without trying to get rid of the ego. You just keep revealing it into consciousness with the energy of love, acceptance and compassion that is your presence, that is you in presence. You see, even the words are so important. I can't say your presence. That's still duality. Even you in presence is questionable. You as presence is probably the most accurate. You are presence. You are that. I am that. No separation. I am that. Okay, Mary? If you have another question, you can put your hand up later and ask another question. But it has no real value compared to you being present, really.
Well, there's a comment that came in by email from somebody that was at the Mount Madonna retreat that I would love to read. It's very touching, and you might be a little embarrassed, but I think it's...
I might be embarrassed?
Maybe. This is from Pete from Toronto, Canada. Dear Leonard, thank you for sharing your incredible presence and wisdom at the retreat. Thank you for showing me the way home. You are the living Buddha, the living Christ, and I am so grateful that I found a true master. The retreat really was the best experience of my life. I truly feel that it transformed me. I feel much more grounded in being and a strengthened resolve to master my mind and ego. Returning to the unconscious world was difficult, but I am up to the challenge. Returning to periods of unconsciousness in myself is painful, but I now know my way home. Life is good. I also want to thank all the other incredible beings that participated in the retreat for their presence. It was such a different perspective of how humanity can be. It was like I came to the retreat an alienated stranger and left in love with everybody. The courage and honesty that everyone showed was inspiring. I am still inspired. Thank you, Pete.
Okay, well, what a beautiful sharing. And can I tell you why I'm not embarrassed about that, Mary? I believe you refer to me as the living Buddha and the living Christ. I really ought to be embarrassed. I know that. But I'm not embarrassed, and I'll tell you why. Because such a beautiful expression coming from Pete is really a statement about him. And in a sense, it's really the living Buddha and the living Christ within him that's expressing such a beautiful expression of generosity. And you cannot see the living Buddha in another other than from the living Buddha within you. You can't see the living Christ in another other than from the living Christ within you. And the great irony is, as we become more and more present, we begin to see that in each other. Because what do you think the awakened state is? If you're fully awakened presence, you are not the living Buddha, you are a living Buddha. And if you add in a little love for God, you're the living Christ. It's pretty simple. And that's actually who we all are. I mean, that was the whole point of Buddha and Jesus' journey upon this earth. Not to elevate themselves. That was never their intention. It was Buddha's intention to reveal the Buddha within. You, sir, are the living Buddha. Wake up and discover who you are. Wake up and realize who you are. It's the awakening of pure consciousness within you. And if in your awakening you happen to feel and sense and experience the presence of God in everything, and you feel one with everything, and you feel a total surrender to the will of God in that state, then of course you're the living Christ. Christ is a state of consciousness. Buddha is a state of consciousness. They're very close to each other, just a slightly different flavor. So thank you, Pete, for your beautiful generosity. It's a beautiful statement about you. And as Jesus said, and I wonder why he said it, he asked his disciples, "Who do you say I am?" He didn't tell them who he was. He asked, "Who do you say I am?" Because he knew that that would be a reflection of them, not him. Do you get what I'm saying? Who do you say I am? For myself, I don't need to know. I'm quite comfortable not knowing who I am. And it was quite a journey to get to a point of relaxation with not knowing who I am. I don't know who I am. I just am. That's the dilemma of awakening. If you're fully awakened, you no longer know who you are, because you're no longer defined by your past. You're no longer defined by your story. Even if I say, I am enlightened, I would immediately say, who is enlightened? I am. Okay, any questions from our in-person gathering? No? Yes, we have a question over here, if we could pass the microphone. The clearer the question and the more succinct the question, the clearer the response from me, just so you know.
I don't know if this is a question, but as I come to your sessions here, I always have awakenings or aha moments, and one tonight was, if we are present, the less stuff you need in your life. I think about all the stuff that's around me that takes me away from being present from so much stuff. So I'm sitting here hearing what you're saying, and I just got an aha. I thought, my goodness, the less stuff I have, the more opportunity to be present.
That is very, very true. And I can't tell you how enjoyable it is to get rid of your stuff, to clear it all out. There is nothing I enjoy more. But we all accumulate stuff, don't we? Particularly living in the way we do. You know, my first 5 years when I came to America from Australia, I didn't have any permanent home. Everything I owned fit into my little Subaru Impreza. And all I did was drive from, I was invited to go and stay here or go and stay there. I just drive there in my little Impreza with my all my belongings, and that was it for 5 years, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. Since then, I must say I've accumulated quite a lot of stuff. Anyway, thank you. All right, let's be present together for a few moments. And being present is as simple as being present with something that's here in the moment with you. Your body is breathing. You hear sound. You feel your feet upon the floor. You're present with what you see. Okay, let's have the microphone back here. Who's got the microphone? You know, sometimes a question comes from a very deep place within us. And the question and the answer takes us all to a deeper level of presence. You've all experienced that many times, right? And other times a question can be very much just in the mind, from the mind, and the only really helpful response or appropriate response I can give you is to help you come out of the mind. So there's a real distinction there. So I don't want anyone to feel inhibited in asking a question. Often questions take us really deeply into presence, or they illuminate. But the first step is to come out of the mind so that you're hearing me not from your mind, but from presence. Okay, thank you.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm really happy to be here. My name is Monica.
Hi, Monica.
Hello. And my question is, when you do what in relaxing in presence, and you're aware that you're somehow you're aware. I don't know. I'm not sure that it's not a mind thing, but
No. You know you're present.
You're present. And say you hear the bird, or you smell a fragrance.
Right.
I guess maybe this is semantics, but isn't the mind then registering and identifying, oh, it's a bird, and that comes from memory and from history, or, oh, that's jasmine. How is that, how do you, then you have to come back away from that. You have to step back from that, I guess, and relax again into the presence in a different way.
You know, it's very natural that the mind will come in with that kind of commentary in the early stages of being present. It just doesn't want to be left out. So it'll come in and say, oh, a flower, or oh, jasmine. How interesting. Or it might even come in and say, I'm present. And that's quite normal and natural. You don't need to get too concerned with that. You don't need to, that doesn't need to pull you out of the present moment. Sometimes what I suggest to people is just say to your mind, oh, thank you for that brilliant observation, and then just let it go. You're not for, you're not against. The most important thing is you're not against it, but nor are you believing it. It's just the mind coming in with a little commentary. Be relaxed, be gentle with the mind too. Who is the one noticing the mind coming in with those thoughts? I am. Another example I give is that when you're truly present, your consciousness is like the clear blue sky. Not one thought, not one cloud. This is the truth of who you are. Even as I'm speaking and answering your question, you can hear me from this deep, silent dimension within you, the deep silence within you. And then a little thought might come in. That's okay. A tiny thought, a tiny cloud does not obscure a vast blue sky. It's just a tiny thought. Let it come, let it go. You're not for it, you're not against it. But if there's hundreds and hundreds of those tiny little clouds coming in, it's not long before the blue sky is obscured. Or if there's only one tiny little cloud, but you get involved in it, you shouldn't be here. This is not presence. Go away. Now you're caught in the cloud. Now the clear blue sky is obscured again. So you have to know how to be in right relationship with these thoughts as they enter. In the early stages, they will enter, and just be very gentle with them. It's kind of cute. Oh, thank you. What a brilliant thought. Thank you for your observation. Then just be present. Come back to being present with the flower. I can assure you that when I'm present with a flower, I'm not thinking this is a flower. In fact, I could be so present with the flower that the flower might dissolve into light. It might almost disappear into light. That's quite possible. Or I could be very present with you. You could start dissolving, because I'm not thinking, oh, there's a person. But if the thought came up, I just acknowledge it and let it go. So not only do we have to be in right relationship with our thoughts, we have to learn how to be in right relationship with our feelings. We have to learn how to be in right relationship with our ego. We have to learn how to be in right relationship with the energy of judgment. All of these things. And right relationship is only possible from presence. It's from presence that you can come into right relationship with all of these different aspects of yourself that are not of presence. And from presence, that right relationship is grounded in love, because in presence you are love. So naturally, you encounter these aspects of yourself with love, as love. You are acceptance, you are compassion. And so it's with love, acceptance and compassion that all these aspects of yourself are revealed and brought to consciousness. And there's nothing in you trying to fix anything. That would be a judgment. You're not trying to change anything. That also would be judgment. And judgment will keep you forever imprisoned in the separation. It's just a first presence and then gently revealing everything that is not of presence, including these little thoughts that pop in. They're just cute. Regard them as cute, that's all.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Say your name first so we will get to know you.
My name is Olusha-san.
Alusha-san. Hi, Alusha-san.
I'm a little embarrassed to ask this question, actually. It's very philosophical, but...
Go ahead. Ask
Okay.
it anyway.
Okay. I was watching your video with a rabbi, certain rabbi, yeah. And he was asking, I really enjoyed it. But there was a part of it that kind of got me kind of wondering that, really? Because I was waiting for you to say something about it. Basically, what I heard, I don't know whether that's what he said, was that there is a Jewish soul. And I was like looking at you, and that's going to say, no, that's because, like the soul is just a soul. And then it can incarnate as Jewish one lifetime, as Catholic. I got really confused about that. I said, maybe I'll ask him when.
Okay, it's actually a good question. It's possible that the soul gets a little identified with being Jewish or black or Chinese, and so the soul might live many lifetimes in that particular stream, let's say. But at the end of the journey, the soul is going to discover that it's neither Jewish nor Muslim nor Christian nor Hindu nor Buddhist, because there is a point of transcendence for the soul in that final awakening. But for me, nothing wrong with saying there's a Jewish soul or there's it doesn't really matter that much. But it's a good question, and let's say the soul just gets caught up in a particular stream and expresses itself in that way, or is on that particular path for quite some time. But then we have to ask, I suppose, if there's a Jewish soul, does that mean God is Jewish? The answer is yes.
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Okay, pass it back to Mary. Thank you for your question.
Can I ask a question?
Of course you can, Bill.
I was thinking about Jesus today, and Jesus on the cross. I guess the last thing he said was, "It is accomplished,"
Did he say that?
or "It is finished."
Did he say that? I don't know.
That's what I heard.
Okay, whatever.
And I was wondering what you would think about that right now.
Well, if he said it is finished, I doubt very much whether he'd said it is accomplished, because it wasn't. He could have said it is finished, which would have more than likely have referred to his suffering as he left the body and died. And you know that I go very deeply into the journey of Jesus and what happened on the cross in the play that I wrote and the DVD titled Liberating Jesus. I don't really want to go through that again or go into that again here. It's too complex. But probably the most significant words that he uttered were, and I don't know the Aramaic, I did at one point, but I can't remember, my God, why hast thou forsaken me? And there's a profound mystery in those words and what happened in that moment on the cross when he expressed those words. But again, let's not get caught up in that. It's a story that exists within time, and it has very little to do with the present moment. Thank you. You're welcome. Another question, Mary?
It is 8:25.
Oh, is it 8:25 already? My goodness. Why don't you read a couple of nice comments and we'll finish up.
Well, good, because I wanted to read this comment from Catherine.
But wait until everyone's present. Okay, go ahead, Mary.
This is from Catherine from Minnesota, who was at the retreat. And her email said, "Hello, Mary and Leonard. I'm finding it difficult to express in words how deeply I have been touched by the retreat last week. My life is changed forever. It was truly the most beautiful experience I've ever had. This is indeed a spectacular journey we're on, and I love it. I love you both so much, and I'm looking forward to next March and maybe even October in Provence. Many blessings, Catherine."
Okay, isn't that beautiful? Thank you, Mary. Okay, so all present together. Look how simple your life has become, Jessica.
Can I say something?
Okay, pass the microphone to Jessica. If anybody knows Jessica from the old days, does anyone know Jessica from the early days? My goodness, what a change.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And life is much simpler, is it not?
Yeah.
Good.
Thank you, Leonard.
You're welcome. Life can be very simple if we don't complicate it with too much past or too much future, too much ego, too much greed, too much desire, too much fear. In the present moment, none of that exists. Even if it existed 5 minutes ago or an hour ago, it doesn't exist in this moment. There's only this moment. That's the beauty of it. And if you're truly present, everything from the past is released. And there is no future. There's just this moment. That is liberation. Okay, folks, so I thank you all for your presence, and I thank those watching for their presence and the questions. And until we meet again. Okay, thank you.